Sometimes the biggest, most important lessons come from the simplest stories. Today, we're going to dive into a children's book that has this really powerful message about empathy that honestly is for everyone. It's the story of Simon, a very unique, very special sloth.
So right off the bat, you're probably thinking, wait, a sloth? Who doesn't want to slow down? And that's the whole hook. We meet Simon, a character who completely flips our expectations of what a sloth should be, and maybe what we expect from each other, too.
And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got your typical sloth, chill, quiet, sleeping most of the day. And then you've got Simon. He's all about swimming, dancing, just always on the move. He just doesn't fit into that neat little box.
So what happens when your natural energy, just the way you are, is totally at odds with the world around you? Well, for Simon, it meant hearing the same things over and over and over again.
Imagine just constantly hearing people tell you to.
This constant pressure to just.
When for you, moving isn't a choice. It's a need. It's who you are. Yeah, that was Simon's world, every single day.
And of course, this is where it really comes to a head: school. In kindergarten, all the things that felt natural to him, blurting out answers, wiggling in his chair, needing to get up, they were immediately labeled as problems. His energy wasn't seen as just him. It was called distracting and disruptive.
And here's the thing, and this is so important. This wasn't him trying to be naughty or defiant. It was a real physical urge. This need to move was just there all the time. It was literally part of how his brain was wired.
Okay, so things are looking a little rough for Simon, right? But don't worry, because the story takes this wonderful, hopeful turn, and it shows us that just a little bit of support, a little understanding, well, it can change absolutely everything.
And the first big change? It comes from friendship. Simon meets Sarah the macaw, and she doesn't see him as weird or disruptive. She sees a friend who has the same kind of energy. She just gets him. And that validation from someone your own age, that is so powerful.
All right, so friendship is huge, but then comes the practical stuff. And look how simple these solutions are. A bounce cushion to help him wiggle while he worked, a little extra time on tests so he didn't feel rushed, and the freedom to just get up and move when he needed to. I mean, these aren't earth-shattering changes, but for Simon, they made all the difference. They helped him succeed on his own terms. But the real game changer, the moment that gives you goosebumps, comes from a teacher. She decides to tackle this whole thing head-on with the class. And in doing so, she changes how everyone thinks about being different.
And I love how she starts this. It's brilliant. She begins with a simple, scientific fact about sloths. She's basically saying, hey, look, variety is totally normal. It's just how nature works.
And then she brings it home. She starts describing Simon's so-called zippy behaviors. But instead of calling them disruptive, she frames them as fun, adventurous things. She's not just tolerating his differences, she's celebrating them.
Wow. Just that one line, it changes everything. Being different isn't just okay. It's awesome. It's fun. In that one moment, Simon goes from being the problem kid to being one of the teacher's kind of sloths. How incredibly powerful is that?
So, okay, it's a super sweet story about a sloth. But let's zoom out for a second. What's the real takeaway here? Let's connect the dots from Simon's story to the much bigger conversation this book is really all about.
The author didn't just make this up out of thin air. This story comes from a very real place, inspired by real kids. So it makes you ask, right? Who are the Zippy Sloths in our own lives?
Well, the book's dedication tells us exactly who. Simon is a stand-in for neurodiversity, which is just the simple, beautiful idea that all our brains are wired a little differently, and that's okay. We're talking about kids with ADHD, autism, anxiety, tic disorders. These are the real-life Zippy Sloths.
And this, right here, is the core message. It's all about shifting our perspective. Instead of seeing a kid who won't sit still as defiant, we can start to understand that their behavior might just come from how their brain works. The problem isn't the child. It's an environment that wasn't built for them. The author also makes this incredible point about what a diagnosis is actually for. It's not about slapping a label on a kid, no way. It's about opening a door. A diagnosis can be the key that unlocks all the things that helped Simon: information, resources, and a community that finally gets it.
And that leaves us with this final, massive question. Simon's story gives us the blueprint, right? Friendship, simple accommodations, and grown-ups who see difference as a strength. The real challenge for all of us is to take that lesson out of the storybook and build it into our schools, our homes, and our communities, for every single Zippy Sloth out there.